Welcome to our third video, which is the development of speech sounds. Children from all cultures swap or miss out sounds when they are learning to talk. Their speech sounds are usually still developing up until the age of about 8 years. When we speak, air comes up from our lungs, through our vocal cords and into our mouth, where we shape the sounds that we make using our tongue, teeth, lips and the roof of the mouth. So no wonder it's difficult and it takes time to learn to coordinate all this. Remember when your child was learning to walk? They wobbled and fell over until they had lots of time to practice. In time, their movements became more accurate, smooth and flowing. And it's the same with speech.
The following information is based on speech sound development in the English language and should be used as a guide only. If your child speaks more than one language, their speech sound development may be slightly different.
Between the ages of 0 and 2, your child will be learning to babble. Children often babble using vowels and short consonant sounds made at the front of the mouth, such as or d. This is why children often use dada or mama.
Between the ages of 2 and 3.5, children will learn to use longer sounds such as f or s, and sounds made at the back of the mouth such as k and g.
Between the ages of 3.5 and 8, children begin using sounds made in the middle of their mouth, such as sh and ch. Sounds such as and th are also later to develop. Children will also typically begin using clusters, which are 2 or more consonant sounds blended together, such as sp in spoon or dr in drink.
There are more detailed tables on pages 9 and 10 of your pack.
We will now talk about some of the sound patterns that we find in speech sound development.
You may think that when your child swaps their sounds that it's all very random, but actually there are often patterns that they are using in order to try to simplify how they say words, and this can make them a bit difficult to understand at times. Mostly it's consonants that they swap. Now let's look at some of the common substitutions that children often make with their speech sounds. Long and short. Consonants may be long, like s or f or sh. The air comes up out of your lungs, and although it's shaped by your mouth, there is nothing that blocks the air. It's allowed to flow freely. Or consonants may be short, like k or d or b. The air comes through your mouth and it's blocked by your tongue or your lips, and then it's released quickly. By the way, I'm using cued articulation with my hands. This is a system we often use to help children to notice some of the sound's characteristics, such as whether they're long or short and where they're made in the mouth. Short sounds like t develop earlier in the child's sound system, and later come long sounds like s, which can go on for as long as you've got air in your lungs to support the sound. So it may be that your child is not yet using their long sounds. Usually, when these long sounds do start to appear in your child's speech sound system, you may notice them on the end of the words, like bus, off, push, and this is typical. In time, they are used on the start of words, like s-un, which up until now your child may have said as done. So is your child using long sounds yet, or are they still swapping them for short sounds? Sounds can also be categorised according to whether they're noisy or quiet. Consonants may be noisy, like d or b or z. These are made when the air passes through your vocal cords and is vibrated, and that's your voice. But some consonants will be quiet, like t or s or f, and these sounds have no vibration. Some children make what we call voicing errors. So when they say a quiet sound, like p, they use the voiced, noisy equivalent, b. So pig might come across as big. Or when they say to, it might sound like do. And this reduces their clarity. Front and back. Another way that children may swap their sounds around is to change whether they say them at the front of their mouth or at the back of their mouth. So sounds at the front of their mouth would be sounds like p, b, t, d, s, f. Sounds that would be at the back of their mouth would be sounds like k, g, h. Children may swap their back sounds, bringing them forward to front of the tongue sounds. So when they say car, they may say it as tar. Or when they say let's go, they may say let's do. And this is typical until about 3.5 years of age. Some children, though, may bring their front sounds to the back of their tongue. So they may say to as coo, or down as gown. Now let's have a bit of a practice at applying this to some sounds. So let's think about the sound g. Do you think it's long or short? It's short. And do you think it is noisy or quiet? Put your hand on your voice box as you say it. G. It's noisy. And is it said at the front or at the back of your mouth? It's said at the back of your mouth by lifting the back of your tongue. Let's try another one. What about s? Is it long or short? It's long. Do you think it's noisy or quiet? S. Put your hand on your voice box as you say it. S. It's quiet. Your voice is switched off. And do you think it's said at the front or at the back of your mouth? It's said at the front of your mouth with your tongue tip just behind your teeth. And just briefly, here are a few other things children often do with their speech sounds. They may delete the first sound of the word. So when they say cat, they may say it as at. Some children may delete the end of their words. So when they say bus, they may say it as buh. Some children may harmonise the word. This is when one sound is influenced by another sound or several sounds in another part of the word or phrase. For instance, they may say duck as guck because the back of the tongue sound on the end of the word influences the start of the word. Other examples might be gink for drink or nunnin for running. Children often miss out a syllable or a beat in the word. For instance, the word dinosaur has 3 beats, di, na, saw, but your child may say it as die-saw. Other examples might be elephant said with 2 beats instead of 3, like effant, or balloon said as boon, and this is typical for children up until the age of about 4 years. And we know that consonant clusters often develop later. That's 2 or 3 consonants together, such as sp or bl. So frog may be said as fog. Brush may be simplified to bush. Glue could become goo, and snake may be said as nake. And this is typical for younger children to do.
Lots of children find it difficult to hear the difference between speech sounds. This can lead to children confusing them when they are talking. For older children, this may also affect how they write words.
Listening is a really important part of helping children to change how they use their sounds. There are many ways we may work on this. If your child swaps one sound for another, we may need to help them to notice the difference between their error sound and their target sound. To help children with this, we may use minimal pairs. These are pairs of words that sound similar, but have one sound that is different, such as key and tea, or saw and door. We can also do this with children who are missing out sounds, such as peas and please, or I and ice. The following video shows one way your child can practice listening to minimal pairs.
Okay, have you got a magic pointy finger there? Ready? Okay, I'm going to try and trick you. Key. Tea. Tea. Key. Tea.
We may also work on syllables to develop your child's listening skills. These are the number of beats which make up a word. Children will sometimes miss out one syllable in a word. For instance, they may say effant for elephant or nana for banana. We can help with this by clapping the syllables out as we say the word. Breaking the word down into smaller pieces makes it easier for children to say and remember. You don't even need to have pictures to do this activity. You can show your child how to clap their name, names of family or friends, or even things they can see around them.
Yeti. Oh, banana.
Well, we've come to the end of the third video, but in the last and final one, we're going to be covering the stages of speech practice that children pass through in moving from single sound up to word level, phrase level, and finally natural conversation. We're also going to be covering some of the tips and strategies that you can use with your child in everyday situations starting from today.